Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Dr. John Michael Salvato. You're watching the Barefoot Millionaire Mastermind. This is our 200-day Mind Shift Mastery series. Today is day 51, and today we're talking about the fact that leaders are readers. And the mind shift today is an important one, although it seems really simple, and that is to make sure that the pages you're reading align with the pages of the story of your life as you wish it to unfold. And excuse me, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm having a little bit of a difficult day with the Parkinson's today, so my voice is coming in and out. It is getting very weak, and I'm going to probably try to keep this a little bit on the short side today. But this is an important topic, and we always hear leaders are readers, and I'm not here to tell you that you should never read for your personal enjoyment. I'm not saying that you shouldn't read fiction or fantasy or anything like that, because I certainly have done so myself in my life, and we all enjoy a good fictional book now and then. But what I'm saying is that 80% of what you read should be to better your life, to put forward and advance the momentum of your whatever your life's mission, your life's journey. And yet the statistics are that 87%, in my experience, closer to 85% of the people who read books that are strictly for escape purposes. And so the mind shift today is to say that while we certainly want to allow time in our lives for relaxation, and if that relaxation includes escaping into a good book, I'm with you there. I certainly have enjoyed things like Anne Rice's novels and others sort of semi-historical fiction as a means of entertaining myself and relaxing. But what I really want you guys to think about is that should occupy no more than 10 to 15% of your reading. The rest of your reading needs to be things that are going to reflect well in your life. I'll tell you a story. I was doing some counseling and coaching with somebody not long ago, and that person told me that their relationship was in trouble. They were having difficulty with their finances. They couldn't get their kids to listen to them, and so as we were talking, over a course of a couple weeks, we started to talk about what their daily activity was like, and she said, well, I got home from work and sat down and started reading, and immediately the kids started to misbehave, and then my husband came home and he was being a jerk, and I said, so tell me, what are you reading? Well, she was reading these horrible accounts called the Left Behind series about the end of the world from a Fundy McNugget perspective. Now, I want you to think about this. If you're reading a book about how the world is ending, doesn't it stand to reason that in your life, your attitude is going to shift so that everything is going to be crumbling all around you? Oh, it's doom and gloom, it's doom and gloom. Well, yeah, your kids are being bad, your husband isn't speaking with you, your job sucks, your finances are in trouble. Well, you're in a mentality of the end of the world. So you've got to be careful when you're trying to escape, because we never do escape from the fact that our thoughts create our experiences. And if that's a topic or a subject that's difficult for you to embrace, just stick with us, because I'm going to help you to understand that there has never been an experience in your life that wasn't a reflection of something going on within you. It doesn't mean, for example, when I was sexually assaulted, that I had thoughts of being sexually assaulted inside, but there was certainly some issues of self-deprecation, some issues of unresolved violence, some issues of anger and hostility within me that were manifesting in all of my experiences all around me. It doesn't mean that the rape was my fault. It just means that there are universal laws, whether you call that the law of attraction, whether you call that just karma, whether you call that energetic exchange. That's what happens. So when I suggest that we read books, I suggest that I have another friend of mine and we exchange books back and forth. And as I read at least one, sometimes two books a week, and I'm always giving him books. And he's like, John Michael, I have 15 books on the nightstand already that are on my to-do list, on my reading list. Don't give me another book. And my suggestion to him, as I wrote in the blog today, was throw out your reading list then. Take all of those books and give them back to whoever they belong to, and start from scratch, because whatever I'm reading at the moment is always relevant to the moment. So if I'm reading a book this week, it's a book that's relevant to what I'm going through this week, so that I can move through that experience. If I'm reading, if there's something on my reading list and I get to that book, because I have a reading list of books that I want to get to, but there's some of those books that by the time I get to them, they're no longer relevant to where I'm going, so they come off the list. And this seems like a really simple mind shift. It seems like, well, why would we be spending an entire session talking about that? But guys, I promise you that it has a powerful impact on your experiences. And so that doesn't just mean reading the books that you read. It also means, if people say to me, how come you're so effective on social media? Well, it's because I'm a voracious reader on social media as well. See, I spend time every single day, and here's one of the things I recommend to you. Spend 10 to 15 minutes a day going through a web search of whatever it is that you do. If you're in weight loss, do it on weight loss. If you're involved with skincare, do it on skincare, or health and nutrition, or whatever it is that your niche is, financial services. Do a web search for current news on that topic and read the articles that are out there. You're going to become better informed about your industry. You're going to become better informed about what's happening and what some of the opinions are that are out there. And then share some of that content on your Facebook feed. That's going to do two things. One, it's going to begin to position you as an authority on your topic. Second, it's going to attract to you the people with whom that kind of information resonates. All of a sudden, when I started posting articles about the fiat currency system, about 6 or 8 months ago, I started a separate Facebook group and started talking about the fiat currency system and how people need to understand that we are in charge of our own economy, that the economy has nothing to do with your economy. I started to talk about how if you start moving some of the money that you have out of cash, out of the fiat currency system, and start putting it into cryptocurrency, start putting it into gold, that no matter what happens to this country's dollar, you're going to be okay. I explained that to somebody, and they sent me an email. They sent me a letter actually, and it was probably 6-7 months ago, and I hadn't even thought about the conversation we had. But this gentleman lives in Cyprus, and his family the rest of his family are in Greece, and I was talking to him just in general about how I would protect myself, how I would protect my investments, how I would structure my businesses. And he shared that information with his dad and mom, who are elderly. And he said, I've got to tell you that if it wasn't for that conversation we had, that my dad and mom right now would have nothing. Because I talked to my dad about what a great idea it was, and my dad immediately started taking his money out of the Greek currency and putting it into gold. And now today, this elder, I don't have any idea how old his parents are, but he's probably my age, so I'm assuming his parents are probably in their 70s, maybe a little bit older. And when the Greek economy crashed, his dad was safe. So those are the kinds of things that I started posting that on Facebook. Now I've started to attract people, and now at a time when I don't have a business venture in the network marketing or direct sales arena, I'm actually keeping myself busy by talking to people who say, hey, we've noticed that you've been posting about this. How is that working out for you? What do you recommend? How do I get started? So no matter what your industry is, become an authority on that industry. But then also spend some time not just focusing on your industry, but focusing on personal development. Start reading the books that are going to get you where you want to get. One of the people whose stuff I read all the time is Oprah Winfrey. because while Warren Buffett might be a multi-billionaire and be oriented toward the same industries that I prefer to work in, Oprah Winfrey is not just a billionaire, a self-made billionaire. She is also a broadcaster. She's also a brilliant communicator. She is also a voracious reader and an entrepreneur. So I read the stuff that she has to write like it's water, because for me that's the lifeblood that gets me going, that gets me motivated and keeps me focused. And on days like today when I'm not feeling well, I'm reading. I picked up this morning a copy of Michael J. Fox's book off the bookshelf and said, when I'm done with the program today, I'm going to lay down and read this book because I know that it'll just put me back in the right mindset to not let the stress and everything else that's going on with my health knock me off course. And I'll just relax and take a day of gentle relaxation. And at the same time, I'm looking at what else is happening in my life. I'm getting ready to start this the peak performance blueprint. So I'm reading stories and information about being a more effective communicator. So guys, don't underestimate the importance of making sure that the stuff that you're reading, that's whatever's on the pages you're reading, is something that you want to see reflected and in alignment with the pages of the story of your life at this moment, because it really does work that way. So it's again, it's a simple topic. It's not something that's very complicated, and you probably don't have any questions about it. But I would love to hear some of your thoughts, and and if it's a short session today, it's a short session. But I don't want to sell us short on just how easy this is, and just say, okay, yeah, we should be reading books, and then you're back off to the races, doing a million other things, because life will get in the way if you don't make that a priority. So guys, go ahead and share what you want to share. I'll go ahead and open the microphones back up. And talk to me.
Go ahead, Ida.
Well, I was waiting. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, the connection here is very bad. But just in line with what you were speaking about, reading is to read for pleasure in a chaotic house of 3 children would be a pleasure to actually read for pleasure. So I don't have time to read for pleasure, but I do have to personally physically put aside time so that I can do, even if it's 15 minutes of personal development each day. Obviously that's needed for the business, and then all in all throughout the week about 2 hours of spiritual religious sort of reading. But I have also, last week I listened to a webinar of a lady that does Feng Shui, and she was talking about applying Feng Shui in your business and how to put it on your vision board. That's initially why I sort of went into it, because I'm thinking of a vision board. And she brought out about the things in your house affects your life. So when you brought out the example there about the lady who was constantly reading the end of world books, I was like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what we were learning last week as well, that it affects your whole, because she was reading that's what was in her head, and I can't think of the word now, the cortex in the back of her brain, that's what's initiating in her life, because that's what her mind was surrounded by. So yes, definitely I will need to be setting aside time to, sorry, you did bring out about becoming an authority on our chosen market. I have been doing the personal study, but I do need to make that conscious decision to have it to read books towards my goals. I haven't. That's making a plan, which I know I don't have, but it's doing out a plan for my business, and then I'll have to read books specifically for that. At the moment, though, it is only just the personal development that I'm doing. So That's another one for me to do.
Right on. Well, and I think it's something that bears repeating too. That you said, you're studying, or you were on a webinar and studying feng shui. Feng shui is as much going on a webinar is as much a part of that learning process, and really still falls into that reading category. Even though we're visually watching the presentation, it's just using a different form of technology. And I could say, I certainly applaud you for looking at feng shui, because the energy centers in our homes, have a big impact on our lives. I, did a couple of last week's sessions, in a different spot in the house, and wanted to see how that felt on a daily basis, because I always like to check and just see if I'm just mentally giving energy to a concept that may or may not be true. And I'll tell you, where my desk is in our home right now is in the money center, for feng shui, the money corner of the house. And when I was sitting at the kitchen table, it didn't feel the same. The energy wasn't the same. It was much more like having a cup of coffee with friends, and it didn't feel productive. And it was good for me last week because of what was going on, to just kind of get away from that business center. So there are times when reading, when the energy isn't right for picking up that book and studying. But do exactly like you're doing, Ita, and set aside, if it's just 15 minutes a day, and if it's just personal development right now, that's fine. When it's time for the other books to become the focus, those other books I truly believe those books will make themselves known. That I don't believe that people who are voracious readers, who are doing this with focused intentionality to better themselves, I don't believe any of us ever have the wrong book in our hands. There's been times I picked up books that I thought were just absolutely dreadful and absolutely boring, and I got maybe 20, 30, 50 pages in, and all of a sudden there was something in that book that I was meant to read. So stay the course. If it's something that you're finding boring and dreadful, read faster. Get through it. But you may find yourself, I'm just going to skim through this, and then all of a sudden you come to a part, and that's the reason you had to read that particular book. Sandy, welcome. Jen and Sandy, feel free to jump in and share. Today we're talking about leaders or readers, and I know that the two of you are voracious readers as well as writers, so jump in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Awesome. As soon as I saw the title for today, 14 million things ran through my head. One is the abysmal rate of my friends who just sit there and go, "Oh, I don't read." And it's like, how can you not read? Yeah, for some other friends, the last thing they read, God help us all, was 50 Shades of Grey. And I'm just like, ugh, what? And not to put too fine of a point on it, but I've actually told them, it's like, life is too short for socially acceptable BDSM. Either go big or go home, okay? But I just sit there and it's like, how do you not read? I mean, with the accessibility of the written word to anyone anymore, how can you literally sit there and just not? I mean, pick up an article. If all you're reading about is Pokemon Go, or, even if it's on Fox News, at least use your imagination, just do whatever it takes, but get out there and read something. Okay, we don't have dinosaurs. Sorry. But the other thing I've found out is, if you found your chosen field and you sat down and read just one book a month, in 5 years you would be amongst the 1% experts in that field. And that just blew my mind, because it's like, oh my gosh, just one book a month. That's really not all that hard. another thing I've been noticing is with writing, because I am writing about narcissist abuse and surviving it and, the tactics and everything, I was doing really well when I was just going through the definitions. I'm doing all the research for it. I'm doing the definitions. Okay, cool, no problem. And then I started inserting the examples. And I realized I can only do that about once a day. I've had to put the brakes on pretty hard because it's like I can feel it just from what I'm writing and I'm reading and I'm going through it all over again. It's like I can't. I got to put this down. And I actually, God help me, I had an episode yesterday with my husband because what was it? Oh, the potatoes had gone bad, and we had a fruit fly issue. And I remember I picked them up, and here's all the potatoes have gone just horrible. It was atrocious, and I felt like he was upset at me because I had written about something very similar with bananas earlier the day, and it's like, oh my gosh, I had to go up to him like, I am so sorry, I know you're not him. But yeah, what you take in really does affect your brain process. That's why I don't get people that don't read. How can you not read?
And
So
you got
yeah.
to do it. You got to do it with mindfulness, because if you're just reading, and like you just said, if you're not careful what you're reading, then that lack of mindfulness could really put you in a bad state. It could wear you down. It could just have an impact on your relationship with other people. So I appreciate you bringing that point up.
That's all I got.
All right, well, thank you. Sandy, I know you're here on the line, and I know that you probably are the only person that I know whose library looks more extensive and out of control than mine.
Well, and you only saw half of it. Okay. Just this morning, I'll use a personal example of reading books. Years ago, I went through a terrible relationship, and I got a divorce, and as a part of that, I carried resentment for a long time, and I wasn't healing. And then someone told me about a book called Forgive and Forget. That was back probably in the 80s, I'm going to say, and that book is still on my shelf, and I refer it to a lot of people. And just this morning, I said to someone, you know what? You haven't forgiven this particular whatever they were dealing with at the time. And I says, and then until you learn how to forgive yourself and that other person, then you're not going to heal, because you have to first forgive, and then you go to the forget stage. But it's a wonderful book, and I'm going to go so far as to say 50 books that I could quote at any given time that I have read at different times in my life to learn and overcome different situations. And I'm purging my books now, and I have all the books in there: how to start a corporation, how to start a business, how to finance a corporation, and I'm putting them in a pile. And I say, you don't really need these anymore. And you're in your 70s. Are you really going to start another corporation? Have you not learned enough from the 4 or 5 that you have started? But those books to me are they're not just my library, they're my education. I'm self-educated, and I started at a very young age. I was a reader probably when I was 10, and that's just what I like to do. But I was probably considered boring. I don't know if people thought I was boring because I always had my head stuck in a book, but it paid off, and you can learn so many things. I am not one that says that you can't read 50 Shades of Grey. I haven't read it because to me that was just very nonsensical. But I do like a good mystery, and to me it's relaxation, so I do read those. But then I'm reading about current affairs right now, and what's behind each one of our political parties, and how are they funded for this election coming up. Do I need to read this? It's not really the best kind of sort of reading you want to do when you really find out what's going on around you, but I think it's essential for me as a person who wants to be informed. Now, I know I'm in the minority. I know because I'm a reader and a curious person, I am in the minority. However, this is going to sound egotistical, and I don't mean it egotistical at all. But I have a core knowledge of a lot of things because I have been a reader of books. That's it.
Yeah, well,
That's all I got to say.
and that's why you're part of the 6% of people who do have that core knowledge, the 6% of people who are informed, the 6% of people who actually control their destiny, because you've taken the time to inform yourself. Is it pleasurable reading to read about the George Soroses of the world and the Koch brothers of the world? Absolutely not. It's disgusting. But if we don't inform ourselves, then how do we make the decisions that will prevent us from making those mistakes again? So thank you for that. I absolutely agree, and I'm, it just so happened that this particular part of the curriculum came up at a point when I have been trying, not terribly successfully, to go through my books and purge, and I this week's excuse is that the book exchange up the street, which is called the Midtown Scholar, doesn't accept books that aren't scholarly books like academic texts. And so I just have to find a new book exchange because the one I usually used is now out of business. But the truth of the matter is that I look at these books and say, oh, well, that was so important in helping me make my first, $500,000. That book was critical in helping me to get over, the grieving process of losing somebody so young. That book was important because it really taught me how to look at. There's a book on nonviolent communication that I just gave to a friend last night. That really was a turning point for me. It made me realize how sometimes our communication is violent and we don't intend for it to be. So each one of these books has value because I don't buy books willy-nilly. I buy books with purpose. I buy books with intention. But I really believe, I feel fundamentally that so much of that information that's behind me is available on the internet, and that I should just let go of some of the books and get them into the hands of somebody who might not have my internet skills, who might not have the internet access that I have. So
I agree with all that. And John Michael, I have tried to learn to read books on my tablets and things, and I do that pretty well. I'm getting ready to downsize my house, and I had to make some decisions. One, what was I going to do with these books? Because my books are my friends. So I made a pact with my kids. I'm going to take my books with me, and then that's only one of the very few things that you're going to have to deal with when your mom dies one of these days. It'll be her books. But know that they were her friends. And so they agree. Say, Mom, if that's the decision you made, we'll go along with it. Now, is that a crazy decision? Well, it wasn't for me, because my books are my friends.
yeah, I have a very difficult time making that transition to digital. Craig is somebody who's not. Craig's not really into technology, but he so easily and effortlessly. When I gave him the Kindle Fire, not the Kindle Fire, the Kindle whatever it was called, yeah, Fire, I think. The little book reader last year. He started. I mean, he's probably downloaded 50 books and has been reading, like 2 or 3 books a month on that device. And for me, if I don't have it in my hands, if I can't pick it up and write in it and highlight it and hold it in bed when I'm reading or on the couch when I'm reading, it just doesn't feel the same. And I know I have to get past that and embrace the technology. I probably have a total of 5 books. Embarrassingly, is all that I have in PDF form on my phone, and that's only because they're books that I wanted to be able to make the best use of all the bodily functions in the world. So that's my bathroom reading, and it's just 5 books that I can read in little snippets.
I keep saying just one more thing, but we can rent all these books at the library. I have a library card. I have been meaning to do that for a year. the cost would be there would be no cost. And that's a great way to read online, and I understand it's the new vibe, the new way to do things. I get that. And I keep saying, Sandra, why don't you sign up, get on that list, rent that book. It's just I spend a lot of money on books, and now that I'm semi-retired, I've lost like $4,000 worth of income, 5, 6 a month, now that I'm not working full time. So I try to be a little bit more cognizant of what things cost. So it's a easy way to get whatever book you want by using the library. That's it. I promise I won't interrupt you anymore.
Yeah, we're at the end of the program, but thank you for all of that, and you've actually inspired me to consider taking these books that I'm looking to put into better hands over to the library, because I'm sure they may be able to use them. So thank you for that as well. That was a little moment of a good moment of inspiration. Guys, this is the end of our half hour. My voice made it through the entire time. I can feel that it's getting a little bit weak, so I'm going to take a couple hours of relaxation and read a good book. So until next time, I'm going to, by the way, a couple people have asked me questions. It's really funny to me that the people who got all up in arms about my announcement yesterday about the website coming down are people who have never commented on the website, and they have, maybe with one or two exceptions, have never been on these live sessions. But they're all of a sudden, it's like, well, how am I going to get the session, and how am I going to watch it? And so again, I want to underscore that every one of you will have the full 200 days of the Mindshift Mastery series. I am creating a new site that is a member site that people will be able to subscribe for $29 a month and get the daily mentoring along with you guys. They'll be able to jump on here with you guys. You guys will never have to pay for that. But it's also going to have a lot of other, this site is going to have a lot of other business training in it. It's going to have personal coaching options in it. And so once again, the website that exists now, I'm still putting the blog up every day, because eventually those articles are going to get moved into the member site. But it will go away. But you guys have access to the entire archive. These first 51 sessions are all already up in Google Plus, in the Google Plus community, and nobody here is going to lose or miss out on anything. So just want to make sure that everybody understood that my commitment to you remains intact, and that the value here remains intact. So that is not changing. But I'm pretty excited because because we're going to have a $29 membership that's going to give them access to what you guys are getting. Then there's going to be a $49 membership that gives them access to a weekly coaching call as a group, and then a $99 a month access, which will be working with me personally, coaching them through whatever their particular business is, so that we get their business successful. But that is a completely separate program from this. It's just that the participants in that group are going to be allowed to participate in this group because we have the space. I mean, there's 3 to 5 people on here on a daily basis, and we can get 5 more, participating, and that'll just increase the value that we're all getting. So, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Stay in the moment. Be grateful for what you've got, and always remember the best is yet to come. I appreciate each and every one of you.